ANC President Cyril Ramaphosa is expected to lead a door-to-door campaign in Ekurhuleni. This as the party gears up to launch its election manifesto tomorrow. Reporter Pule Letshwiti-Jones is in Ekurhuleni now, waiting for the arrival of the president to do that door-to-door campaigning. Good morning to you, Pule, and maybe just give us a sense of what is set to happen when the president does arrive in Ekurhuleni later on this morning.
Well, a very good morning, Rafiwa, and we know that the president, of course, and the ANC's number one is expected to arrive in Ekurhuleni today. This is a very also key municipality for them. We do know that the ANC has been working along with some of these few parties in a co-governing relationship. These parties include the African Independent Congress, the Pan-African Congress, and of course the Patriotic Alliance. And also remember that at some point there was some sort of tensions between the Patriotic Alliance and the ANC, who had also threatened to pull away from that relationship. But further away into the issues of service delivery, one would want to hear the president speak about how this time around they will be trying to improve some of the services in Ekurhuleni as well, how they will try to actually also sway voters in their way to actually, separate themselves from those coalition talks. And as it is right now, the president is expected to arrive here in the morning, and we're just waiting to actually monitor as well how the reception will be. You remember previously there was some sort of also tensions in Soweto with residents, crying out loud and making grievances about how there was a lot of water and electricity cuts, and they wanted the president to actually address this immediately.
Right, and you bring up a very important point there about the unrest that we saw in Soweto, residents refusing to register, saying that their votes mean nothing because no change has come, sitting without electricity and water for months on end, Pule. But you followed the campaign trail with the deputy president yesterday. You got to speak to the mayor in Polokwane as well. I mean, what were the residents of those communities saying to them in those engagements? Were they convinced at all that change might finally come for them from the ANC?
Rafael, I think we should look at two pictures here, right? The ANC is quite adamant that they will be able to win, outright majority in some of these wards and municipalities where they were greatly affected previously in 2016. One ward we were in Limpopo, we saw the numbers were not favoring the ANC. They had to go into coalition in order for him to start running that administration. But most importantly, residents are just tired of the same promises that have been made over and over again. And it's not coming to their way, as some of these politicians have been making these promises, such as what we saw in the ANC as well. Then you have the deputy president stepping in what has been called the lion's den, going into Seshego, campaigning as well, which is the home birth of EFF leader Julius Malema, saying that they will be going in there to sway voters to come their way. But track record does not speak for the ANC as it is right now. It's quite tough. We are seeing a lot of dilapidated services that have been taking place. We're seeing what has been happening in the city of Joburg, with residents complaining about high tariff prices of electricity and water. We're seeing what is happening in Ekurhuleni right now, which, the municipality under the leadership, of course, of Mzwandile Masina, claiming that they have been having a good track record. But residents are still saying that hasn't been, that has only been on paper, but not in reality. So there's quite a lot that the ANC will have to do to prove themselves this time around, to actually sway voters their way.
Yeah. And then finally, very briefly, Pule, why is it important, rather, that the president be in Ekurhuleni specifically this morning? Where is it going to be starting the trail according to those you've engaged with?
I think particularly getting those numbers in this municipality is quite key. This is one of the biggest municipalities in the country as well, Arufira. And for the president to be here, for his presence to be here, will add that political clout to the ANC as well. Will also convince, some of the supporters that the president will then take into consideration some of their grievances and hopefully not only as to make promises, but to ensure that they deliver upon those promises. What we also understand, Rofeo, is that there has to be answers as to what is the latest development in terms of the electricity plan in Soweto as well. What is the latest development in terms of what kind of systems will be put in place to alleviate cadre deployment and ensure that, credible leaders are put in place. There's proper mayors and, of course, supply chain managers are also put in place to ensure that there isn't any corruption. If you look at the opposition parties and their manifestos, those are some of the key things they have highlighted that they will try to tackle to ensure that there are proper vetting systems which will ensure that there's accountability. So the president's presence here will be very key in making sure that they can, allow their constituency here to, again, regain their trust in the ANC and to ensure that this time around they will not only just be making empty promises, but they'll deliver upon those promises.
Our reporter Pule Letshwiti-Jones bringing us insights ahead of the president's arrival for his door-to-door campaigning in Ekurhuleni.